Hello, my name is Holly Hughes, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at BAI. It's our mission at BAI to provide actionable insights that help financial services leaders make smart business decisions. We do this by providing powerful tools, meaningful connections, and relevant content, including the insights that will be shared on today's webinar. Uniquely tied to our mission is the BAI Global Innovation Awards. For the past 10 years, these awards have recognized and honored leading financial services organizations who are changing the face of the industry, solving problems, adding value, and providing improved experiences that positively impact their customers, employees, and communities. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by two such innovators, Samantha Melting, who is the head of the consumer bank at Synchrony and is responsible for its business strategy, growth, and leadership. She has over 26 years of financial services experience, and her focus and passion on delivering competitive deposit solutions that helps customers achieve financial wellness through transformative, innovative, and practical approaches. Samantha, great to have you with us. We also have Diane DiCostanzo. She is the editorial director of Millie magazine, an innovative print and digital brand all about women and money, sponsored by Synchrony Bank. She has an extensive background as a content strategist, editor, and writer, and is also the founding vice president and editorial director of Foundry 360 at Meredith Corporation. That's a division that helps create branded content programs for clients. Diane, great to have you with us as well. And Synchrony Bank was selected as a marketing category finalist for the 2020 BAI Global Innovation Awards for Millie, a multi-channel personal finance platform for women. Samantha and Diane are going to take us through their innovation journey. We'll learn more about how these two organizations formed a partnership, their key successes, and lessons learned along the way. And I'm excited to have them with them today, and I'm confident that their insights will inspire you to think about how you can drive innovative thinking and practices at your organization. So again, welcome Samantha and Diane. We will go ahead and jump in. I first want to congratulate you on being a finalist in the BAI Global Innovation Awards. And Samantha, I thought just to help get us started, could you give us an overview of Millie and why you decided to do this project?
Absolutely, and I am so excited to be talking about this partnership. It's something that I'm really proud of, something that I think is really a need today for women. In fact, there is a lot of magazine content out there geared toward women, but sadly, so little of it is actually focused on personal finance. In fact, Merrill Lynch did a study where they found that less than 1% of women's magazine content talked about personal finance. Yet women are controlling 80% of consumer spending, and they're projected to hold 2/3 of the nation's wealth by 2030. And you just look at those stats and you think women need this type of support and this financial empowerment. And yet women are more likely to say that they don't feel confident about money, or they feel that they lack the education needed to make good financial choices. So Synchrony Bank wanted to empower women to save and be confident in making these decisions. And so I'm really excited that we've come up with a really creative way to address this for women in a way that's relatable and actionable.
That's great. And Diane, maybe you could build off of that a little bit. How did the partnership with Meredith Corporation come about?
Well, we had the great good fortune of helping Synchrony develop and publish content to Money Matters ever since the very early days of the blog. I remember when we were brainstorming content franchises for Money Matters, and we suggested leaning into women and financial literacy, and we got an immediate enthusiastic yes. We were thrilled because as content strategists, we always look to publish the topics that align with the brand's passions and authority. And Synchrony very much fits that bill with so many women in senior leadership positions like Samantha, and even more so today. Additionally, as a digital-first bank, Synchrony is very modern in its approach to talking about money, offering financial products for people who are just starting out in life, as well as to more mature investors, including women in these conversations, and tailoring content specifically to women aligns with that modern approach to financial literacy. So Millie in many ways is a natural continuation of the conversation and the community we are aggregating around the topic of women and money. The visual on the screen offers an overview of that program. We're a quarterly print magazine, and we're distributed to 1 million Real Simple subscribers, also available on Apple News Plus. Our primary audience is female, of course, ages 25 to 55. As Samantha mentioned, Synchrony is an exclusive launch partner, and content lives on synchronybank.com/Millie. And then, of course, we have Millie Facebook, Instagram pages, and Millie Mail, which is the weekly e-newsletter promoting content and pointing readers to both content on synchronybank.com as well as around the web, helpful content about women and money.
So great to know that you had a shared vision, a very common passion around this topic, which is, definitely needed, as you said, Samantha. Now, I'm sure it wasn't easy. I'm sure there were a number of obstacles, challenges that you ran into as innovators do. Was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that. How did you overcome some of those challenges? And specifically, I'm wondering how you, got that C-suite buy-in, which is sometimes, one of the harder steps in the innovation journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember the first meeting with Millie very clearly. I was just so very excited about the possibilities and the opportunities that this could present for financial education for women, which is a particular passion of mine. And when I started at Synchrony Bank, I knew that I wanted us to focus on financial education for all customers and all consumers, but absolutely for women because, as I mentioned earlier, that is lacking today. And so one of the main challenges that we faced was how are we going to justify the digital spend to Millie, knowing that we would be shifting some of our marketing spend from one channel into another. And, one of the ways that we were able to get buy-in is actually getting a guaranteed minimum amount of traffic from the Meredith team in our contract. And so this would increase the chances that we would actually be able to connect with consumers and women by having them connect to our Money Matters blog, where from there, they are learning about who we are as a bank and the products that we offer. And so that, joined with the goal for financial education, made it a whole lot easier to get this one over the finish line.
Yeah, I think, financial services organizations love numbers, and, if you could, get that built in and show some confidence and that traction early on, that's great. And Diane, I know you mentioned, certainly there are some other magazines and platforms, while not as at the level of Millie, certainly, but there are, different content out there around financial tips, stories, about how people have tackled some of their challenges. But what are you all doing to really ensure that Millie is revolutionary?
I love that word revolutionary, and it's really one that I comfortably apply to Millie. To start, we conducted a thorough white space analysis around content created for women about money. We like to start there because we like to know what the competition is, and we also need to know where we can differentiate. So we looked at content that was both branded, that is from other financial firms, as well as purely journalistic. And you're right, there are personal finance content programs for women, and they are mostly attached to brands, like Elvest, for instance. Journalistically, money content for women tends to be in channels. For instance, Real Simple has a very good money channel for women, but a media brand purpose-built for women at any scale that did not exist. So revolutionary, too, is a piece of our differentiation, I think, with Millie, in that we take an advocacy stance, not only informing women, but encouraging them and even empowering them in their financial lives. We all know women wear many hats, so at work, that means tools. Millie helps women with tools to help them rise up in their careers. As consumer, that means Millie helps women get more value out of the dollars they spend. As parents, that means teaching kids about money earlier in life. As investors, helping them understand how best to save for retirement while also making sure their investments align with their values, whatever they are. And across the sponsorship program, we are trying to sound those notes of both information and inspiration, and with Synchrony as a partner. I feel like we really come together in that space because Synchrony does so much in terms of helping people, whatever their gender and preferences, with education about money.
Yeah, I love that combination of education, inspiration, empowerment, because it is a holistic approach, because it can be overwhelming and there's so many facets to it. So I think that's great that you guys are looking at that spectrum there. The pandemic spawned a lot of innovation and, caused people, to think differently maybe about programs that they were launching. And you all launched mid-March 2020, so right at the start of this, maybe not even knowing, how long it would go, what some of those challenges would be. Did you shift your editorial priorities at all, Diane, given the timing in the pandemic?
2020, what an interesting year to launch a magazine. In fact, with the pandemic, financial content was needed more than ever. It's sort of as if our collective financial lives rewrote themselves overnight and then kept adding new chapters month after month. There are job losses and government stimulus checks, regulations lifted as it relates to unemployment benefits and 401k withdrawals, a delayed tax day, a bonkers stock market, and a bananas real estate market. Literally, things happen, financially speaking, that have never happened before. So as an editorial operation, we covered them, which sure redirected some of our editorial plans, but the stories that unfolded did not lack for drama. One of Millie's mandates is to tell real women's stories. And as with everything last year, the stories were so poignant. Unemployment hit women harder than men. Female-owned small businesses, as you know, were especially hard hit. Sadly, women lost their aging parents and had to cope with that emotional and financial fallout. Really, we just put our heads down and tried to help women with the financial content they needed in any way we could. And the feedback that we got from readers helped us feel confident that we were able to inspire them. We heard from women that they'd lost their jobs, but they were taking the opportunity to start a new business, sort of their dream, pursue a dream, because in fact their hand was forced and they felt like it was a good time. We got lots of letters about, wanting information about the gig economy and side hustles. We were commended, and this made us feel really good, that we were offering content across the ages and stages of women's lives. So we weren't trying to be just a millennial magazine or a magazine, on the other hand, for women who were approaching retirement, but really looking across the spectrum. And we also got a lot of good pops from women around. I know we're going to talk about this in a bit, but how inclusive we were in our approach. So people who identify as female, trying to include everyone as that relates to ethnicities and preferences.
Yeah, definitely a good segue, and would love to hear, from both Samantha, you and Diane on this one. Diversity, equity, inclusion, certainly very, very important. That much more top of mind, right now for people, as it should be. How has Millie been used to address some of those diversity, related issues? Any specific content that stands out, or an issue that stands out as you were looking through that lens?
Yeah, I'll start and then Diana chime in. What I love about Millie and the way that we've approached financial topics is it really is relatable to diverse women, from age to color to background. And so because it's relatable, it can be actionable as well. And it doesn't fit within the traditional mold of financial education, which is often delivered in one way. And so diversity was a really critical component of the content and has been a key focus for the writers of the magazine from the very beginning. And we've covered so many topics that are really exciting and very relevant for women today. things like applying for a job when you're transgendered, or how to be an ally at work, or even focused on Black women and the challenges that they face in the current job market, as well as issues that featured businesses owned by women of color, Black female personal finance experts. In fact, in one of the magazines, we had really the fortunate opportunity to showcase some of our women at Synchrony. And so I love the diversity in the content, but also the diversity in the women that are featured and in the topics that are featured, because then it does become very relatable to women, and that's what we need right now. We want them to know, hey, this is financial content that I can learn. It's relatable to me, and it's something that I can take action on. So, Diane, anything you would add?
Yeah, thank you, Samantha. That was a really nice overview of where, I mean, sometimes we feel like we're just getting started, but in some ways it also connects to the year that 2020 was. It would have been wrong to not look at what was happening across the social fabric of our country and say, you know, content for this person, not that person. I think another lesson from 2020 was really the importance of DEI initiatives, and Synchrony can be applauded for really championing that. We also, though, you know, along with some of the stories Samantha cited, we felt it important not to make assumptions and not to lean into stereotypes of who women are at various stages of their life. So one example that I always give is, let's not assume that a person who identifies as female has children at home when she's in her 30s. She might be childless. She might be childless by choice. It might annoy her that you know there's content around being a mommy if in fact she's never going to identify with that role. Also, not assuming a person who identifies as female is retiring with a man in her life. So many people are retiring solo these days. In short, we never want people who fall outside of stereotypes to think that they are being excluded. Millie's a big tent, and we want everyone to feel welcome.
Yeah, that's great. And, you know, challenging those stereotypes, the unconscious bias that exists. So it's great that you all have covered all those bases and continue to, because it's such a layered topic and such rich content. You know, and I imagine, too, when you do an initiative like this, it's got such a great impact externally. It probably also did a lot for employees, too. I'm sure there was a lot of employee pride. Samantha, did you see employee engagement impacts as a result of Millie and the work that you did?
Absolutely. And Synchrony as a company is dedicated to the financial wellness of its employees. And, of course, we wanted all employees to have a copy of this. And so we did give all employees access to a digital copy of Millie every single quarter, which is fantastic. And, you know, one thing to keep in mind is we're talking a lot about women here, but the content is relevant to men as well. And so we wanted all of our employees to have access to that. We've also held webinars with Millie as well as our women's network. And we've had fantastic engagement with employees, lots of questions. I get a lot of questions about financial wellness topics, and I love engaging with employees and helping them on that journey. And I mentioned earlier that we have been featuring, or we have featured our employees from our diversity networks in the February magazine, where they talked about the Black women that they admire most, as well as we showcase some of our Black women leaders at Synchrony. And so it has been a great success, and I'm so excited that we've been able to make this available to our employees.
So let's talk a little bit more about the success and the results. So in addition to the magazine that you mentioned, Samantha, you have the online content, you've got the weekly e-newsletter, a lot of social media, webinars, as you mentioned. What type of results are you seeing, and how are you measuring success?
Yeah, so we're seeing great success externally as well. And, you know, the whole goal here is, how do we connect with the right audiences? How do we engage them? We want them to learn when they've visited our Money Matters blog. and be stronger financially because of the content that they're reading, but we also want them to become a customer of Synchrony Bank. And so we look at things like how many consumers are going to our synchronybank.com site, how much time are they spending on our site, what are they reading on our Money Matters blog. I mean, today we have over 250 Millie articles that are published today, and that's fantastic. That is so much content. There's wealth out there of financial education and literacy just waiting for women and men. And today we have over 50,000 weekly email subscribers where they're getting access to the content that way as well. 70% of the Millie visitors are new to the bank website, and over 80% are female. And so this is a great way for us to introduce Synchrony Bank to them, and in hopes that we can establish a relationship with them and help them achieve their goals, their savings goals in particular. Millie visitors spend 65% more time on the bank site than other blog visitors. So we're engaging them. We're connecting with them. The content that's there is relevant and exciting to them. And you know, with Millie in 2020, it helped us increase our blog visits by more than 1.5 times year over year. So we're seeing great success here. We're excited about what's happening and what the future holds for us with Millie.
Yeah, and I imagine all that traffic and feedback that you've gotten, it's a lot of learnings that can help you with customer journeys, products, other services. Samantha, anything stand out there in terms of how you're leveraging the interaction that people have had with Millie to drive some of those other areas?
Yeah, and I mentioned a little bit of this in the prior answer. You know, Millie content is often the first introduction that someone has to the Synchrony Bank brand. And so it's a great way for us to introduce relevant content and connect with women and then empower them to take control of their financial lives and achieve financial wellness. And so when someone comes to our site, they're learning about who Synchrony Bank is, but we're also introducing them to other financial topics that maybe they hadn't come to the site to read about first. And so we're opening up, you know, a much broader universe of financial education to them. And we can suggest additional articles that are related to the readers on the site. With the magazine, there are QR codes that can lead the readers to the bank site. And so what's great about this is that we learn more about who's visiting our sites, and we can also retarget them with additional content, but also product-focused content, which we hope will encourage them to come back to our site and become a customer of Synchrony Bank.
Yeah, really, really smart marketing strategies for sure, and very relevant. So that's excellent. So just last question, you know, in terms of what does the future hold? So plans for expansion, other customer segments. Would love to hear from both of you in terms of what you're looking at in what's to come.
Yeah, so for me and for Synchrony Bank, of course, we're always looking at what are the critical needs that aren't being met today in the world of financial wellness and just financial resources. And so I think we'll continue to focus on women. We'll adapt to what women are facing today and tomorrow. We are absolutely focused on diversity and inclusion. So how do we have messaging and imagery and content that's relevant to a diverse group of consumers, and also how do we address the needs of underserved communities who may not have access to the same type of resources that others have access to. So I'm excited about what we're doing today, and I'm certainly excited about what our next steps could be in the future.
Great. Diane, how about you? Where do you see the future?
Well, we're looking forward to Millie Live events, something that we had to put a pin in 2020, of course, but we hope to launch later this year, along with virtual workshops like this one. We're publishing a Millie's Guide to Retirement as a newsstand product, Meredith is, also in 2021, actually. And we've always wanted to bring Millie to college campuses to reach the youngest financial consumers. Again, that's something that we would look to develop as universities open back up this year. So in terms of platforms, I'd say the theme is live and, in real life, connecting with some of the communities that we've been able to connect with more virtually and in print.
Well, you've built a great foundation. Those sound like, great steps to continue to further the impact of Millie and the great work that you all are doing. Samantha and Diane, thank you so much for sharing and joining us today. I think you've educated and inspired the people listening on their innovation journey. So really appreciate that, and hopefully this encourages us all to think differently about the challenges and how we go about solving them, all for the greater good. And I think, this has such a great purpose and such a great impact. So thank you for the work that you're doing and all that's to come. And also want to thank everyone for watching this webinar in this series from BAI. You can learn more about the BAI Global Innovation Awards and other 2020 finalists and winners on our website, which is BAI.org, as well as news on the 2021 awards program, which will be opening for nominations this summer. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great day.